Hello one and all, old school gamer 1971 back with yet another opinion. Before I begin, special shout out to Millie and Lloyd. Also, if you like what you hear, like, subscribe or comment. Do all three and make my day. Our first topic today is online co-op. Whilst I'm not a big fan of online versus, for various reasons really, I am a massive fan of online co-op. My problems really with online versus is a little bit that there is people who do cheat, use bots, macros, things like that, especially upon PC. Console, there is still people who cheat, but I can see the skill in competitive play, but I don't have the time to devote to learning the maps, learning the spawn points of both players, and also of weapons, armor, that type of thing. And with not really having the time, it's pretty pointless after a game has been out for so long because other players do learn it. I cannot devote myself to one game. I don't feel that I have the time, but I do like the co-op aspect, working together to beat the machine, so to speak, finding how to overcome the weaknesses of all the players on your team is also something else that I quite like as well. To play to strengths, and I know it can be a pain waiting for players either way. In short, enjoy whichever way you play, but I do hope that we do get more online co-op because it is something that I do enjoy, and certainly myself I've enjoyed immensely, certainly with games such as A Way Out and games like that, which was really good. I enjoyed A Way Out, played that all the way through. One of the best games I've played for a few years, co-op wise, for definite. Anyway, on to Lego City Undercover. Final thoughts. Yeah, it was a bit of a GTA clone, I admit that, and yeah, I platinumed it the other day. But my final thoughts are, on the plus side, there was a lot to collect. I like that. If you are a person that likes collecting a lot of stuff and going around a big massive map, this game is pretty damn good for that. It was entertaining to play and watch, with lots of references to many crime and TV shows, whether or not it was like Starsky and Hutch, Dirty Harry, numerous other things, but they're the ones that jump straight to mind. As well, it was well structured with its skills throughout the game. And what I mean by that is you have a wheel with different characters on, and unlike normal, each part of the wheel is a specific sort of character, whether or not it's a farmer, whether or not it's a fireman, or whatever kind of character it is. Each one different skills that can do different things. So by the end of your first playthrough, you have got all the characters you need to get everything else. You're not having to go and look for a very specific character to do a very specific thing. That is something that was really well put together. There was a few things that you might say were detract a bit. It's repetitive in places, more than some Lego games have been, and as well maybe a few more side missions. The map is very big and they could have done a few more side missions and it would have filled it up quite well. And whilst it is not been my favourite, it is probably one of the most original Lego games from the point of view of it being a Lego game that there's been for a very long time. I enjoyed it, and hopefully others will too. So, on to something that I decided to start doing, which is my top 10s. Now, these are in order, but on another day, they could have been round a different way. Also, as well, I know that some of these games have been on other platforms, and I mean that as in some of these I might have played them on Mega Drive, but then they came out on the PlayStation. But I have no experience of playing them on the PlayStation. I've only played them on the Mega Drive, so I've put down what systems I've played these games on as well. So, without further ado, my RPG top 10. So we start off with Shining in the Darkness. Really, this was my first RPG I ever really played, as in the traditional sense of an RPG. It's a bit of a dungeon crawler as well. It was really, really good. I was not expecting from it what I got. It was a very, very good RPG. I played nothing like it, even though it was about my fourth or fifth, system, and I did just think it was quite a good game as well. It was long. It at the time it seemed varied. Now probably not so much, but it was enjoyable, and there is many times that I wish I'd got the time to go back and play it, and I'm not sure whether or not it's on the PS4 Mega Drive collection, but I do know it's on the PS3 one, and at some point I might go back and give it a go. Number 9, Parasite Eve. I played this after I had played the Final Fantasy VII, and this came out, and boy was it different to Final Fantasy VII. Yeah, it was a little bit smaller, but as well, it was also quite a good play. It was different. The fact you could do your weapons up by collecting different things, and you could like make your weapons a lot more powerful with add-ons, and you had your levels, and it was very, very different. It was a horror game that was an RPG, and it worked. Unfortunately, I don't think it ever received a European release. I know it received an American one, because that was what I got it on, was on American. But it was a really, really good game that was different, and I do believe that even until now, there's never really been anything out like it since. Number 8, Shining Force Neo. This came out on PlayStation 2, and this yet again was a really, really good game. Good enough that I played it through from beginning to end, and I thought it was fantastic. You had two different players, two different without ruining the story too much, the sword splits into two. It's like good, and it's like dark and light, and it worked really, really well. You had two different playable characters, and there was a lot to do, and it was a really, really big game. It's a pity that the XR I didn't quite like as much, and certainly it's a pity that they don't or haven't really made any that was in this sort of same type way again, but hopefully at some point or another they will. On to my number 6, on to number 7, Dragon's Dogma. Dragon's Dogma was, well, I enjoyed it. I really played it through this year for the first time. I didn't play it through to the end on PlayStation 3, but I did on PlayStation 4. It was a really good game. I enjoyed it. I thought it was, in a way, it's what I imagine playing The Witcher's like, but without necessarily quite the size that The Witcher is. I think it's a good game to get into The Witcher, and it was enjoyable throughout. I like the story. The whole thing of dragon eating your heart and you rushing off, going off to go and get your heart back was something that I really, really liked. Number 6, Champions of Norath. This was brilliant. PlayStation 2, and I was an absolute massive fan, and I mean massive fan, of Baldur's Gate. This is the same game engine, it's the same game, but it's on a bigger scale. It is set, I believe, in the EverQuest universe, and it is a really, really good game. And all the different classes, the fact that you could play it 4-player, it was really, really good. And unfortunately, as far as I'm aware, the last Champions game that came out was on PlayStation 2. To me, it should have had a follow-up at least on PlayStation 3. The closest I think we got was Untold Legends and maybe Diablo, but please, another Champions game. Number 5, Harvest Moon Back to Nature, on PlayStation 1 and on PlayStation 3. Man, I love this game. When this game came out, I had several friends, we all got it, and it was really, really good. I loved it. It just played exactly like what you would want it to. Yeah, it's a farming simulator. There's not a lot to fight. In fact, I think there was only ever the threat of wolves. I don't ever remember a time where you had to fight in the game, and it was really, really good. The fact that you done farming during 3 months of the year, you could do mining during like all year round, but there was an area that was unreachable, I do believe, for a portion of the year, and it was really, really good. I cannot say otherwise. The only problem was with the British UK version was that it crashed when you got married. Now, I have not played it through to that point on PlayStation 3, and really I should, but from the point of view of the game itself, if you never got married, it was such a really, really good game, and it was enjoyable throughout. Number 4, Suikoden. 108 characters. 107 you had to get before you could get the 108th, because, spoilers, one of the characters dies part of the way through, and if you've got 107 by the time you come down towards the end of the game, he comes back, and it is really, really good. Collecting the whole 107 characters throughout that massive map, it is a really, really good game. Yet again, a really good plot, and subsequent games, if you had on your memory card, going back to PlayStation 1, Suikoden 2 come out on PlayStation 1, if you had all 108 characters when you went into game 2, some of the characters would turn up during that game. I can't remember if there was any that could join your new party, but I know that people from your save would turn up on the map and people to talk to. As well, if you had the 3, 4 or 5 on the PlayStation 2, yet again you would be able to transfer your save over, and certain characters would be available and things like that. It was really, really good. Unfortunately, I believe 5 was the last one. I would like to see this rebooted at some point, because I believe that the storyline and the plot and the ideas behind it, I don't want to give too much away, but it's a sort of rebel story kind of thing, and it is quite a good quite a good play. The storyline keeps you into the story, and it is a good play. Number 3 is Your Dreams. Now, this was a game, in a way, it was like a dungeon crawler, but you go up a tower as opposed to into a dungeon. In it, you start off in a town, and your dad disappeared all the years ago, and the only thing that came back was a little monster, and these monsters come from eggs. It'd be hard pushed to tell you which one came first, whether or not it was Pokemon or this. In it, you caught creatures, and if you released them in your basement, they'd come back to your basement. If you released them in your tower, once you came out the tower, they was gone. But the idea was, you could, every time you went into the tower, your level went back to 0 or 1. Whenever the creatures got released in the tower, they'd be the same level they were. So you had to use your creatures, but as their energy depleted, you would lose them. So therefore you had to use them at the right time. And as well, you would then get further up the tower, better rewards. There was a story about your life going on outside the tower, including getting married. There was also things around the town you could make better and improve with money. And there was stories to be told and all of that, and it was really, really good. And unfortunately, as far as I'm aware, they never made a follow-up. Not on the PlayStation. I think they might have done on one of the Nintendo handhelds, but not on the PlayStation, which is a pity, so please make this one again. Number 2, Ni no Kuni 2. Now, this, to me, might be on another day number 1, but today it isn't. But Ni no Kuni, the first one, the White Witch, man, the storyline, the plot, gameplay, whilst not original, it was good. The combat was good. Collecting the different creatures again was good, but it was the storyline, the plot, 2 different worlds, and each time you went into one, you wondered where the story was going to take you. And it was very well written. The art style was amazing, and it's a PS3 game. The second one is out. I haven't had chance to play it yet, but man, I want to play that. But Ni no Kuni is my second favourite RPG of all time, which obviously leaves number 1, and obviously it's Final Fantasy VII. Now, I know to some people they're going to see that and go, well, wait a minute here. You know, everyone, well, a lot of people's favourite RPG is Final Fantasy VII, but I was the guy that went out the day after it released in America and paid £80 for Final Fantasy VII. I was a guy that had only seen like a preview, but I played other Final Fantasies on like the Super Nintendo and on the NES. And I went out and I spent £80 on Final Fantasy. At the time, there was not the internet, there was nothing. And having bought it, I was so pleased with my purchase. And then at the end of disc 1, it happened. And at that time, I knew I had to play that game to the very, very end. And I thought it was probably one of the most amazing games I'd ever played, or ever likely to play, really. I look forward to a remake, but they really, I don't mind them messing about with the combat, I don't mind them messing about with a lot of things, but they need to leave that core story intact. Even if there is more at the end, even if they tweak a few things, just do not change the main majority of that story. Well, this one has been a little bit longer, as I was expecting. Thanks for listening. Comment if you agree or disagree. Enjoy your day. Old School Gamer signing off. Bye Millie. Bye Lloyd.